Now, we are in what could be described as the biggest crisis the Scale 500 community has ever faced, thanks to Herpa's absolutely wild and crazy new retail prices. And I would like to thank each and everyone who has been reacting, commenting, sending feedback, sharing stories, sharing the videos I've been doing about all this. You are an awesome community. I'm so happy to be part of it. So taking all this into account, it is difficult to go back to business as usual, and I promise you we will stay on the case, but for now we will take a look at this aircraft model in front of us, which on first glimpse looks like a typical Herpa Wings model, so carried by the livery itself and not so much by what Herpa has done. But is that really the case? We will find out right after the drop. So with that, hello and welcome to a new episode of Review, where we today will take a closer look at a Boeing 777-300ER of Air New Zealand. At the front of the box we have a cutout so we can get a glimpse of the aircraft model inside, and on top of the box we have the Air New Zealand branding. The backside of the box reveals once again Herpa's shoddy and careless work when it comes to their box design. I have said it so many times and I will continue to say it: Herpa, change your box design. And here she is, the Boeing 777-300ER, the flagship of Air New Zealand in their current standard livery. The airline has of course in the past also operated the 200 variant, but those have by now been retired, so leaving the 777-300ER as the only 777 variant in the Air New Zealand fleet, at least for now. And back in 2020 Herpa created this aircraft model for us, interestingly enough right around the time when this aircraft model was actually sent to storage in real life, of course due to the pandemic, from which it returned into active service in 2022. But now let's find out what Herpa has managed to do with this aircraft model, and we start our tour around it with a look at the tail section, where we on the vertical stabilizer have the iconic Air New Zealand branding. On the fuselage we also find the very recognizable New Zealand fern, underneath which we have the full registration code of the aircraft, and towards the very tail of the aircraft we find a bit of detailing around the APU exhaust. At the front of the aircraft and across the fuselage we then find the writing of Air New Zealand. We also have a Star Alliance logo, of which the airline is a founding member. And on top of the fuselage we have the addition of a set dome. That is nice, but there are no other details here worth mentioning unless we are starting to talk about the cabin doors and cabin windows. And I mean, honestly, that would be ridiculous, wouldn't it? So let's move on to the cockpit section to see what Herpa has done with that. And well, they have added the cockpit windows and the window wipers. So really the bare minimum you need to recognize this model as an aircraft model. And then again, nothing else. So what about the engines? Well, they have been kept in a light grey color, can you believe it? And they have the silver leading edge printed on, but of course that is the only printed detail we'll find here. What is more convincing is the physical detailing of the engines, although of course as usual they are incorrectly shaped, but that is a common issue with all Herpa 777 models. But we do have a nice look into the engines where we can see the engine fan blades. And then we can of course also take a quick look at the wings, starting off with the top side. Here we have the different flaps, slats and spoilers carved out very nicely. We have the markings for the emergency exits printed on, and we have this thick black line which is a visual indicator for the pilots as to where the outer edges of the main landing gear is. The underside offers more physical detailing, and we find the full registration code of the aircraft once again. Then we can also take a quick look at the landing gear here of this aircraft model, which is the standard landing gear that Herpa uses for all their 777s. I mean, to be honest, I think it looks pretty alright. Even the front landing gear, which often is a problem for Herpa Wings, I think in this case looks pretty nice, but we are of course missing printed details. On the belly of the aircraft we then have a hole in the fuselage for a stand, which is not included with this aircraft model, making it rather silly, but at least it doesn't really destroy any printed details in this case, so I guess I can live with it. And then finally we also have the doors to the cargo compartments printed on here at the back of the aircraft, and also here at the front of the aircraft. So there we have it, the Boeing 777-300ER in the current standard livery of Air New Zealand from Herpa Wings in scale 1 to 500. And what can we say about this aircraft model? Look, I try not to be too negative towards this aircraft model just because of my current day grievances with Herpa, and I do try to cut older aircraft models a little bit more slack. But of course we do need to, well, look at what we have here in front of us. And that is realistically a prime example of Herpa Wings cutting as many corners as humanly possible and doing the absolute bare minimum. Because while we do, and I really want to highlight that, have a really high quality and precision print on this aircraft model, we barely have anything on this aircraft model. I mean, we have the livery, and that is really what carries this aircraft model. If you like the Air New Zealand livery, well, this is a treat for you, but this is also the only thing you will be getting on this aircraft model. Apart from the wings, which has a little bit of detailing, there is really nothing apart from the absolute bare minimum details you need so you can recognize this as an aircraft. If we are to say anything else positive about the aircraft model, then the fact that the 777 mold of Herpa Wings is pretty solid in my opinion. The only issue I have with that is really that the engines are too squeezed, but this is a common issue with all 777s from Herpa Wings and something they are most likely never going to fix. So yeah, in conclusion, a great mold, a really nice print with an awesome livery, just way too few details. So with that, we have reached the end of today's episode. If you have enjoyed this video, then don't forget to leave a like. If you're new around here, why not hit subscribe? And with that, thanks so much for watching. Hope to see you soon again. I'm checking out, and bye.